Welcome to part 2 of this presentation, creating a whiteboard screencast on the iPad with Explain Everything. Now, the iPad is not the only way to make whiteboard screencast, and in fact, the examples we saw in part 1 from Khan Academy and Robert Talbert don't use the iPad, but rather a more technically complicated setup that, in the interest of time, I'm not going to describe now. But what the iPad does offer is the possibility of creating whiteboard screencasts that are less complicated to produce and that can be made quickly and, if need be, portably. Several screencasting applications have been developed for the iPad. I've read many reviews and analyzed several of these apps, and there's a clear consensus that Explain Everything is the most effective application currently available for creating screencasts on the iPad. That's why I've chosen Explain Everything to demonstrate for you. I'm going to assume that you have an iPad and a stylus, and that you have the Explain Everything app installed. With that in place, let's get started by opening Explain Everything. Landscape orientation is recommended for using this app. To begin, you will see the Explain Everything home screen and across the top some main navigational controls, a Help button and Preferences menu in the upper right, and in the upper left, a button to export projects and the New Project button. To get started for now, let's open a new project by tapping the New Project button and then tapping Blank Project. You are now at the Explain Everything working stage area. The white portion of the screen is called the slide and is the area available to bring material into and to draw on and mark up. As you see, there are two main toolbar areas. Along the left edge, these are mostly annotation tools and slide control tools, and along the bottom, these are mostly recording, playback, and export tools. The most basic annotation tool is the drawing pen. To select this tool, just tap on the pen icon. To see options for the pen, press and hold the icon. You'll get options for things like pen color and thickness. You actually could use your finger to function as a pen, but a stylus specifically designed for the iPad is highly recommended. It's important to understand that an Explain Everything recording consists of a sequence of one or more slides. So to demonstrate this, let's go ahead and call this Slide 1. And then to add a slide, tap the Add Slide button. We'll call this Slide 2. And we'll just go ahead and add one more slide. And just for kicks, let's give our pen a different color. Give it a red pen. And call this Slide 3. You can see a listing of all your slides with the Slide Sorter button. You can view thumbnails of all the slides and rearrange, copy, or delete any of them. To rearrange, just drag the slides around until you get the order that you want. To copy or delete any of them, press and hold one of the slides until you see on each of them a red X or a blue 2X button. Pressing the red X button deletes the slide. Pressing the 2X button makes a copy of the slide. So let's just go ahead and delete that third slide. Press that and it's gone. In the bottom left corner you have the Slide Navigator, which allows you to move back and forth among your slides. As you plan a video, you'll want to determine ahead of time how many slides you'll need to use, what materials and actions will be placed on each slide, and what you will say as you present those materials and actions. One of the powerful features of Explain Everything is the ability to import materials that you've already created onto your slides. To demonstrate this, I'll add a new slide, and then we'll use the Insert button found here. The main options I would emphasize among those presented are inserting images and documents, such as PDFs and PowerPoints, from your Dropbox account, inserting images from the photo roll of the iPad, and showing web pages directly from the iPad. One nice thing about using the photo roll option is that you can take pictures and screenshots with the iPad very easily, and then you have them available immediately for your presentation. For example, let's say I want to put an image on the slide of a screenshot of a math problem that I'm going to solve shortly. I press Photo Roll, Camera Roll, and the image, which is presented to me. If I wish to edit it here, I can, but I'm not going to. So I just tap Done in the upper right corner, and now the image is on the slide. Once your item is on the slide, you can move it around and resize it with the pinch and reverse pinch motions, and by dragging it with your finger or with the stylus. You can use the Insert button to bring elements such as this in before you begin recording, which is usually recommended, or during the recording process itself. Now let's look at a few more annotation tools. Beneath the drawing pen is a pointer tool and a Shapes and Lines tool, if you'd like to add any of those kind of elements to your slide. The icon represented by the A is a text box tool if you want to type text onto the screen instead of handwriting it. You can select the font type, size, and color. Tap on the screen then, and the iPad keyboard will pop up to allow you to type. When you've finished typing your text into the box, you can resize the box with this tool in the upper right corner of the box. To move the entire box around, just drag it with your fingers or the stylus. Once you have the box situated where you want it and the correct size, tap the check mark. Below the Insert button is an Erase and Delete button, which can erase what you've drawn with the drawing tool and remove any object from the screen. So, for example, if I write something like this, and I realize I've made a mistake and I need to erase something, I select the Erase tool and just rub out what I want to remove with the stylus or with my finger. Now, if I want to remove an item such as the text box I just created, I have to deselect the eraser and then reselect it as a Delete tool. Once I do that, then I just press and hold the item that I want to remove. A red X will appear, and I just tap that. Here's an Undo tool. If I tap that, it will undo the previous action. So I just restored the text box that I had deleted. I've already mentioned the slide navigation buttons in the bottom left area. In the bottom middle area are the controls for recording and playing back video, and for advancing to the beginning and end of a given slide. I'll be demonstrating those shortly. Finally, in the lower right area are tools for saving projects, exporting images and videos, and for returning to the home screen. With that quick tour of some of the more important features and tools of Explain Everything, let me demonstrate by creating a short video in which I solved that problem in pre-calculus that I had showed you earlier. I'll set up my slides with the materials I want, and following that I'll actually record the video. So I'm starting here on the home screen, where I select New Project and Blank Project. Now I'm going to insert that image on the slide from my camera roll of this problem. And I'm going to move it to the top of the page. Now I want to draw a diagram of the box that's referred to in the problem using the Explain Everything drawing tool and my stylus. And the box will look something like this. Well, not the best image, but it'll do. And I'll label the dimensions W by W for the base and H for the height. Now I'm going to add a second slide to add another image that I took using the iPad screenshot, this time from a math application called Wolfram Alpha that will address part B of the problem. So once again, I insert from the photo roll and select my image. So now I have my two slides and the materials that I want on them as the video begins. What I'm going to do when I start recording is to solve the problem both with audio narration and explanation and by writing on the tablet surface. When I'm finished, I'll save the project and upload the video to my YouTube channel. So now, let's move on to the recording. Okay, we've got a problem here from the homework, informing functions from verbal descriptions of problems. These are sometimes called story problems or word problems. In this case, a manufacturer wants to produce boxes with a square base and no top with 8 cubic meters of volume at the lowest possible cost, given that the material for the bottom of the box costs $8 per square meter and the materials for the sides cost $6 per square meter. So first, we want to express the cost C of the materials as a function of the width W of the base. That means we need a formula for C in which the only other variable is W, so there can't be any H's in that formula. So, to express the cost C of the box, we simply add up the cost for all the surfaces. The area of the base is W times W, or W squared, and that costs $8 per unit, or 8W squared. Plus there are 4 sides, and the area of each side is just W times H, and that material costs $6 per unit, so 4 times 6 WH, or C equals 8W squared plus 24 WH. So we have a formula for the cost C of the materials, but it's not only in terms of the width W of the base, there's also an H in there. So how can we deal with that? Well, we have some more information given to us in the problem. We know that the volume of the box is going to be width times length times height, or in this case the width and the length are the same, so the volume is W times W, or W squared, times H. But they tell us that the volume is 8 cubic meters, so 8 equals W squared times H. Now if we solve for H by dividing both sides by W squared, we'll get H equals 8 divided by W squared. Now what we can do is take this value of H and plug it back in where the H was in the equation for the cost. So that gives us C equals 8W squared plus 24W parentheses 8 over W squared, or C equals 8W squared. 24 times 8 is 192, so that's 192W divided by W squared, or C, we can factor out a W from top and bottom of that expression, so that gives us C equals 8W squared plus 192 over W. And that's what we're after for part A. We've expressed the cost C of the materials used to make the box as a function of the width W of the base. Now part B asks us to use a computer or graphing calculator to find the minimum cost. That is, what is the lowest cost for which this manufacturer can produce boxes with a volume of 8 cubic meters, and what will be the width and height of those boxes? To determine this, I used the Wolfram Alpha iPad app. I plugged in the formula that we arrived at in part A, that is C equals 8W squared plus 192 divided by W. And Wolfram Alpha calculates a number of things, including the minimum of the function. So we see here that the cost will be $125.796, or approximately $126 per box, and that at that cost the width will be 2.289, or approximately 2.29 meters. We can plug that back into that equation that we had for the height and determine that the height of each box will be 1.53 meters. So for the manufacturer, those are the dimensions that need to be used to produce a box with a volume of 8 cubic meters at the lowest possible cost, which will be $126 per box. Okay, so now we finished the recording. So let's first save the project. We'll give it a name. Let's call it Problem 15. Now we're going to export this project to YouTube. So I select the Export Video tool and I select YouTube. Now I've already set up my account information so that Explain Everything syncs to YouTube with my username and password. So I'll type in the movie name here that I want to give it, and let's just call it again Problem 15. And then I just tap Publish. Now what happens here is a somewhat lengthy process in which the video is first compressed and then it will be uploaded to YouTube. And for a video of the length that I've produced, which is roughly 5 minutes or so, this is going to take a little while, 15 or 20 minutes. Maybe let's say 15. So I'm going to pause the recording here so you don't have to watch all of that. Okay, we're back after about 15 minutes, and this is probably the main criticism that folks have of Explain Everything. It takes a little bit of a length of time to compress and upload the videos once you've produced them. But you can see we've done so successfully. We're given a link to the video on YouTube, and we're told that the upload was successful. And finally, if we follow that link to YouTube, we find the video coming in at exactly 5 minutes. So that's the process for creating and producing and publishing a whiteboard screencast from the iPad with Explain Everything.